What's up guys and welcome back to the channel. I'm Andy the Middle Age Gamer and this is the 2023 Knights Armament SR16 E3 MOD2 CQBR V3 OEM'd by VFC. And if you like me, that's a bloody lot of acronyms to go through, but it's kind of worth it. Spoiler alert. Now, two things before we jump into this amazing video. First of all, as you saw in the opening title card, everything you see on this video is airsoft only, not real steel. There are no real firearms in this, so YouTube, stay off my back please. And second, full disclaimer, everything you do see in this video is bought and paid for by myself. I own everything you see in here with my own money, so I have a lot of skin in the game. As I said in my previous video, a few times it's going to be a case so you don't have to, but generally I do this so that I can bring this great content to you where others are not doing it or even bothered about it. So yeah, it's really great to get stuff like this on the channel. Now this is still very hot off the press and is an amazing gun. Now, with that out of the way, let's do what we always do and start by jumping in. Well, what is the SR16? Well, the SR16 is the military variant of the SR15, OEM'd by Knights Armament. Knights Armament is one of the go-to companies that you would go for go-to-war weapons, such as HK being probably personally a top one, but it will be a top for many. But you've got Daniel Defense, you've got LMT, and you've got Knights Armament. And to be honest, this is probably the next best thing to go for if you can't find a 416. This is probably the one you want, even above a Daniel Defense. And we'll get into that at some point. So, let's do what we always do. Let's zoom in and go over this awesome, amazing weapon. Okay, so before we jump into the rear, I just want to make another little note. You might hear noises in the background. That's just kids. As it is, this is being filmed during the summer holiday, so everyone's out doing things. It's a lovely weather out there, so there's a lot of noises. Doing the best I can to mute as much as I can, but nothing's perfect. So, with all that aside, let's go over what you get out the box at the rear. You get a B5 SOP mod stock, which is fine. It's a generic stock. There is no reason to hate it, really. It's just the stock. If you want one thinner, just as long as it's mil-spec, it will fit. It's more important what it's actually mounted to, and that is the single piece mil-spec buffer tube. Now, unlike the competition, such as Tokyo Marui, that uses a two-piece where the end cap of the buffer tube inside is a separate piece screwed on, and the more you increase the buffer weight or the heavier bolt, the more chance you shoot that out the back and into your shoulder. And trust me, it's happened. I've seen it a lot, and it's painful, especially, like I say, when you destroyed your gun, sort of like doing it and then have to rip it all to pieces to rebuild it. So, single piece, more stronger, more durable. And like I say, it is mil-spec, so any AR-15 mil-spec stock will fit on that buffer tube. Now, the buffer tube is held on with a standard mil-spec AR-15 castle nut, same one that's on the M4A1, etc., on the standard military. The difference being is the QD sling point. To give it that extra little bit of space to stop the flex, if you drop your rifle on its, on the stock, to stop the buffer tube from flexing, they gave you this cool designed Knights Armament ambidextrous QD sling point. There are sling points like this, one here and one on the other side, which is great for putting your slings, but it also adds just a little bit more material here to the actual castle nut to do what the H&K giant castle nut kind of does, but on a smaller scale. So, awesome piece. The charging handle that you get with this rifle is just a generic mil-spec charging handle. It's bog standard, run-of-the-mill. As long as it's AR-15 mil-spec, it will fit on this, so you can just put any charging handle that is mil-spec in there if you've got a favorite like a Radian or something like that. Now, moving down to the grip, like I say, you do get an A2 grip, but unlike standard rifles, this A2 grip is just the same as them. You get your finger groove cutouts, which is either a love-hate. If you hate it, it's mil-spec, like I keep saying. just undo the hex screw inside it, take it off, put on any of your mag pulls or whatever you want. To be honest though, I've not really had any problem due to the lovely trigger guard that Knights Armament have cut out. You have this perfectly ergonomic with angle cuts here and this nice scalloping out effect. That means that when you are holding the gun, the actual finger groove here fits perfectly. It doesn't get in the way. And of course with gloves, you're not even going to feel it then. But you do get the enlarged trigger guard, as you would say, or the trigger space for your gloved hand. It's just perfect. Now, speaking of, how would you say, I would say better quality, the trigger itself is now full steel. The entire internal fire control group is full steel inside there. So the blade is steel, the actual socket that the sear sits in, and that is all steel. The sear, the hammer, you name it, everything in there is full steel, which is brilliant for longevity. The fire selector is, again, this is a full steel Knights Armament selector. You can see the CAC logo here, and as this is the SR16, it has this mode on it there, the fun mode. Now, you're never really going to use that, only in emergencies, and that's going to be very rare. It's very positive, as you can hear, nice tactile positive into each, and it does lock in place and doesn't move. It is full ambidextrous, and on the other side there is a full size selector on the SR16, unlike the civilian model where the ambidextrous side is scalloped to half the size for better ergonomics. I'm kind of like Grantham, that sometimes if you just want to take that single shot and you're on safe and you just want to switch it to semi, you wouldn't just do it like that. Sometimes you put your thumb around the other side and flick it down for that one shot. So it's entirely up to you, but having full length on both is fair for an ambidextrous point of view. Okay, so moving on from the fire selector, let's get to the other controls. You have your standard AR-15 bolt release and hold open, which is ambidextrous for release, but manual for the hold open. You do have this extended cut here from Knights Armament, as this is Knights, so you can easily put your finger on there to rack the bolt to the rear and hold on to it. On the other side, there is a corresponding paddle that your trigger finger can easily lift up and do, which I'll show you when we flip the gun around. And like I say, you have everything quite nice. Now here, you also have your mag release, your ambidextrous mag release, that is. You have one on the other side, which is easy to go. You just push out, and we'll take that mag out. And you have your main one here. Now, because these are connected, you can feel it properly. Like the other side, you can feel that too. They are quite positive, and again, all the controls on this rifle are made of steel. So your locking latch here, the buttons, everything here is full steel, including the pins that go through, which are absolutely amazing. The magwell itself has been designed based on the modern cut, what would you say? So you get the nice 35-degree angle across there. It is flared and will fit and feed your Gen 2, Gen 3 magazines, whether it's VFC's BCM, the HK416, their Stanag ones that comes with it, and their what we call PMag, but we all know it as their official name is the VMag on VFC. But all of them will fit and feed. You've got no problem whatsoever, which is absolutely, again, better for the shooter, giving you more options for magazines depending on what's available in your area. Now, as for markings, you have your unique serial code here, along with the Knights Armament, which are really very nicely etched in. Everything is deep, crisp, and clear. And you have the Stoner rifle. Now, it has Stoner rifle, and no, it's not meant for weed smokers, but it's meant basically because of Eugene Stoner, the awesome legend himself, who we owe quite a lot for our modern AR, because he's the inventor of the M16 and the AR-15 today that we have. So yeah, he has a massive, I would say, portfolio of great weapons and parts that he's designed, that we owe him a great thanks. Now, Eugene Stoner worked with Knights Armament on the SR-15, the SR-25, the CAC rail system that we use on the M4A1, and different variants going forward. It's thanks to him that we have this kind of like modernization, and especially on this rifle, it's what they call the E3 bolt in the real steel world. Now, I'm honoured to have that name on the rifle, and I think it's great. Now, just above it, you've got laser etched in the CQB and MOD2. CQB for being the 11.5-inch barrel, so close quarters, and MOD2 is for the whole, how would you say, setup, which is great. Now, underneath this rifle, if I flip it up like this, you can see the, how would you say, Knights Armament logo there on the, how would you say, trigger guard, which is awesome. And as an extra bonus, underneath the QD rear sight, and I say QD, it's their slimline ones, you have your Knights Armament, if I pull that up, logo etched into the upper receiver, which is beautiful. Now, another good thing about this rifle is you do actually get front and rear sights, because what's becoming more popular, like with the BCM, is not to fit sights on the rifle. They know that you'll put an optic on there anyway, so why should we give you one in the box? I'm thinking that's absolute half-arsed, and you should basically give us a set of sights. It costs nothing for you. But these on the real steel, the front and rear sights are actually quite expensive in the real steel world, and these are very good replications from the VSC on them, and they are made out of steel pins and aluminum, just like the real. They're made to real quality. So, be interesting to see sort of like them on a real gun and see how they work, whether recoil can affect it. But we'll get onto that later. Now, moving on, let's talk about the handguard. If I bring this in, we should be able to see, as you can see at knightsarmament.com, as you say right there, manufacturer. You do have a ambidextrous QD points. These ones, unlike the rear, are locked. So when you click your QD in, it won't rotate, which are really good. The rear ones do. Love-hate thing. It's up to you, whichever way you want to go. But it's nice to have them built in, and are very sturdy. Now, the handguard is their QRX4. It's their latest. So every single slot that you see on here for is actual M-LOK and will fit M-LOK peripherals. As you can see, I have the light switch for the Surefire Scout at an angle, so that when I'm holding it, I have perfect grip and ease to do it. I don't have to buy an extra rail segment and angle it and all that rubbish. Now, I have fitted it with a hand stop and front and rear like this, so you can C-clamp it a lot more easier because it is a nice narrow handguard. It does fit really nice. I did fit up here at the front a QD point and a standard sling mount. I just had it, and I thought it'd be nice to add one here up front if I want to run the sling further forward, which is fine. As I say, here is your front sight with the Knights Armament logo. The rear sight does actually have CAC in there. If I pull it up here, you can see it there stamped on it. So they are all officially marked, just as they really would be. Now, below, inside the handguard, I'll see if we can try and get it there, you can just sort of see the gas tube. That is your guide rod going all the way across, and just like the real steel, it's straight. You see, Knights Armament came up with this whole new gas block system on the real steel that seals the gas at the block so it can't escape. It's a properly sealed unit. And instead of having a kink and step up into the chamber, it's a straight run into the chamber, hence the proprietary nature in the real steel for parts and that. But I would rather have that and have reliability than worry about having a kink where it's a potential fail, especially if you're using what they call sustained fire. So as you're holding, how to say, down the enemy while your squad moves back or falls back and then rotate, this is going to get very, very hot quick, and those kinks are where it will fail at the gas and then put your entire rifle out of action. So kudos to them. Now, like I say, this being VSC though, the gas block here at the front is an actual what they call it, guide hop system. So you put your key in, and unlike the Gen 2, the Gen 3 has a positive ratchet system here inside it. So as your Allen key goes down the front that they give you in the box, you can adjust it on the fly without disassembly of the weapon, and it has a ratchet system. So you will go click, 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 turn it to the left or to the right, and it will go down. If you turn it to the left, you'll add hop, which is kind of cool, and it's a lot more simple. And because it has the ratchet, it will hold its zero a lot better, or its actual hop. Unlike others that are under recoil, because these guns really kick, you don't have that issue where it will slightly either add or remove hop and you start losing it after a few hundred rounds. Now, as you can see here at the front, you have your steel muzzle device, which is a 3-prong flash hider with the Knights Armament QD mount. So if you have a Knights Armament suppressor, you can just lock it on, ratchet it down. I'm not going to put one on this video because YouTube likes to demonetize me. The last video I did with the unboxing of the VMP one, they decided to limit the ads on the video, or the monetization of the video, because I put it on. But basically, that's how you would do it. It just clips on. It's very, very identical to the Acertech Predator mount, minus this pin. So you can easily flip it out, put the Predator one on, and just lock it on. That's not a problem. Now, let's flip the gun around and take a look at the other side. As you can see, it is completely mirrored on the handguard. I've put my clone of my Surefire Scout on there, which is quite nice, as I say. You have your nice QD. You've got your M-Lock engraving there. And as you can see, the QRX4, the latest and greatest, with its own unique serial number. Now, moving to the magwell, you have SR16, the chamber, the round it's chambered in, 5.56, Knights Armament address, which is quite nice, and we have our magazine release and ambidextrous bolt release. And I say bolt release because, like I say, if we open it up, flick that, you can just see, locks open, ready to go, so that you can just push down on this button with your trigger finger up and click, and it goes home. You get your Knights Armament engraving. We'll take a look at that when we disassemble the gun. Your full-size ambidextrous safety. If you do want the slimmer one, they do sell it, and you just unscrew that, pop it off, put the other one on, screw it back. Like I say, all this is full steel, so you're not getting cheaped or, how to say, done over by it. It's really good, and you got your ambidextrous sling point on this side. So, as you can see, that is the rifle in a nutshell. Straight out the box, exactly how you would get it, minus the furniture I put on for testing. And this does come with the Gen 3 magazine, which you can see here. Now, people ask me, how do I load the magazine? I had one recently, even though I've done this before in, I think I did it with my cleaning, if I remember rightly, video, but just in case. When you get this gun, it comes with this speed loader. This little adapter plate is what you need. You just put it over the hole there. You hold your mag in your left hand, you put it vertically straight down, and just push on the plunger. It's very easy and very simple. As you can see, BBs go in. And that's that. Now with these Gen 3 mags, all you need to do, if you want to dry fire the gun, is push down on that follower there, and then lock that to the rear, and it will continue to shoot even when there's no ammo in there. Or you can click that back, and then this will pop up as and when needed. But the Gen 3 mags are very good. Your fill valve is here on the rear. As you can see, I put quite a lot of rounds through this one. But yes, you've got quite a lot of dirt on this as well. But yeah, it's a great magazine. Does what it needs to. I can get roughly around about 95 on a cold day to 120 rounds on a very nice hot day out of this. It works fine. So, let's get this fully gassed up and ready and take it outside. Okay, I'm using green gas and 0.25 gram BBs, so let's see what she can do. Okay, so what do we get an average there? Average of there we go, for you, 293.8. Yeah, with 198 being your highest, 191 being the lowest, which is not bad for 0.25s. With 0.2s, you're looking at around about the 320 to 330 FPS. Okay, so let's step it back 10 meters and let's see what she can do. Okay, if we take this one here, that was me, and we do this group here, at its widest point, you're looking about 2 3/4 inches, which is not bad at all. especially for stock with no upgrades to the booking or inner barrel. Okay, so let's see what happens with the Texas style. Let's see if we can get this down with what's remaining in the mag. Not bad, the benefit of having a large capacity mag. One. Dang it. Okay, so as you can see, the accuracy is great. She's very accurate for what you get in the box. It's brilliant considering everything is all stock. So why don't we take this apart and go over the internals. Okay, so now that the gun is in its takedown state, this is fully disassembled. Let's take a look. We'll start with the low receiver. Okay, now starting here at the rear, your buffer retaining pin is full steel and mil spec. So that's nice, it keeps the buffer completely in. Now, as I said in the overview of the gun, going over it, everything you see here inside is full steel. From the trigger blade right here to the fire selector bar with the selection cams in there, along with the other side, the fun seer, the hammer, the firing pin and its unit inside, the bolt stop, and as you can see, the ambidextrous bolt release there, which is quite nice. The whole lot is steel. The takedown pins right there, and here are steel mil spec pins. Everything is exactly as you would find it, which is really good to a real steel, minus the firing pin being here and not inside the bolt carrier. So what that does is basically give you the brand new Gen 3 internals, which is awesome. So you get all that nice steel. The hammer, if I click here, as you can hear, it's very, very loud. There is no cut, no lightning bit here at the top like you would normally see. It is completely one piece, giving it more authority when it closes. Now, as you can see there, you got your trigger, which is nice, and your, how would you say, fun mode over there. Now, if I set the hammer, you can see here your firing pin. If I get my little pointy device, my takedown tool. Now, this here is steel, and that is your firing pin. And the whole new design for the Gen 3 is it is like a leaf spring, so it will come down at a slight angle here and then go up. It's fitted in a T-shaped module, which is made out of a mixture of aluminum and steel, and will basically retain inside the receiver in a special cutout underneath here. Okay? And that means it's one unit, it's easy to swap out. It literally is just pop this pin, take this off, unscrew the hex screw, and take the entire unit out. And it's very easy to replace. They're around about £20 thereabouts UK to replace that part with postage. It's not gonna break because it is steel, including the firing pin right. If I can get my hand down there. So yeah, I totally reworked, how to say, low receiver. The milling of it has just been phenomenal. Everything is just fantastic. Now, inside there will go the buffer and spring. This is a heavy recoil buffer spring made of steel, and you have your milled aluminum heavy buffer, which features a very heavy weight inside, as you can sort of hear rattling in there, basically causing a anti-bounce feature, so that as the bolt goes backwards and forwards, it doesn't bounce at every end of the travel. It's a great system, and it has been what is been in the Gen 2 onwards, so that's really good. They've kept that. Now, let's talk about the bolt carrier. The bolt carrier assembly is full steel. Yes, this is full heavy steel, and it's around 2.5 to 3 times the weight of a standard zinc bolt carrier out of the 416, etc. Now, because it's steel, it means it needs fewer parts. The only screws you really have are here, and you have your standard E-clip for holding the nozzle in at the back here. Now, those screws on this aren't thread locked, unlike the zinc one, because it's in steel. And like I say, it's just awesome. With it being steel, even after several thousand rounds through this, the wear here at the back, where it would hit the fun seer, there is no wear. You can see just here the general finish, the paint work being scratched off from the hammer as it slides the hammer and sets the hammer, but that's generally it. Now, if I can get this back in for you. Yeah, basically this is an absolute awesome piece of kit. Now the cam pin here is held in by the top gas key here, so you have to unscrew that to take that, and then it will allow you to take the nozzle. Now, as you can see, if I can get this out, this is a V3 M4/416 nozzle, which has been on the market now since the October last year, if I remember rightly, officially, as individual, but was fitted to Gen 2 guns. Now, you can see on mine, it's got a metal restrictor, I would call it, down the nozzle. It's a Gen 3. It does actually have an MPAS. I've looked down there. There is the hex key for a 1.5mm hex key, and we'll adjust the FPS through there. But whoever shipped me this from the store I bought it from, which I'll leave in the description below, basically went old school and put a restrictor in there and then cranked open the valve to full, because you can tell where it's set inside the air thing. Oh, cylinder here. And so you're getting the full sent forward, but they restricted it down by using that. Silly ways, potatoes, it works. I don't mind it as much. I was angry at first, but after I've used it a while, I've realized it's better, because when you use this gun and you've got, say, for instance, a full magazine and you're running it with spam on your finger, actually operating your finger safety very quickly on it, sometimes you'll get 2 or 3 BBs coming out the magazine. And at that point, one will get stuck in between the locking lugs and the nozzle and will actually snap your nozzle if you're not careful, and you just keep doing it. Now, having that metal in there, it's happened to me twice at the beginning. It's now stopped because I've worn everything in to make it a lot more better. And in doing so, no problems, and it doesn't snap. It did snap my Mark 18 nozzle, and I had to buy a whole new bolt carrier for that. But with this one, it's been perfectly fine and running all day long. And as you can see, where it catches, if we can get that in, there is absolutely zero wear. Just paint finish that comes off this thing, if we can get that to focus. There we go. And that's just better for you, the shooter, and for everyone at large. Like I say, an absolute great. This is heavy. Now, the downside to a heavy bolt is going to be the rate of fire. Out of the box, tight, with everything non-lubed, this gun is shoots around about the 690 to 720 rounds a minute. Slow by AR-15 standards. The zinc one operates around about the 850 to 900 out the box new, but increases as everything wears in to around about the 920 to 940 rounds a minute. This currently, in its one-in phase, is hitting around about 850 rounds a minute. But like I keep saying, you have a bloody heavy bolt and a very heavy spring. It does slam home with authority. It doesn't bounce under fire. And so under general use, you're not going to worry, because it's as snappy as hell. You could hear it out in the demonstration. You can spam that trigger if you really wish to. And so basically, yeah, I would highly advise you to just keep it as it is and run it. Make sure it's very well lubed, because it is steel. It's not aluminum. So being steel, it does need a little bit more silicone oil and that, just to make sure it is fully lubed. And every 300 or 400 rounds for the first couple of thousand, I would lube it, dry it all down, clean it, get all the excess wear and tear materials out, and fresh clean. So that is entirely up to you. Now, like I say, charging handle is generic, and your hot chamber in there, as you can see, runs, if I can get the light in there, is a blue bucking. So that's good enough for you to run a 0.25 gram BBs, which I run. 2 8s or 3 2s. Again, depending on who you order it from, they probably won't put that silly restrictor in there. You've got your MPAS as standard. You just have to adjust the FPS to what level you want. You do get a 50 FPS range from whatever it comes out the box. You've got about 50 FPS increase or decrease from the mid setting. So you will be able to find it if you really want to shoot 370 with 2 8s or what have you for outdoors, making it a DMR or something, you can do that. Or if you need to crank it down to make it site legal for CQB, you can do that also. So yes, an absolutely well-built, amazing rifle. So let's put this back together and go over our thoughts. All right, so now that it's all back together, what do I actually think about this rifle? Well, to be honest with you, if you're after an M4 or an AR-15, this is probably the best one to get. Originally, I was going to get a URGI 10.3 Gen 3, but one, it was actually slightly cheaper, and two, it came down to the fact that it wasn't ambidextrous, and I do like my modern ambidextrous guns. And to be honest with you, the SR16 has so much more provenance behind it than the URGI. It's used by Delta, it's used by SEALs and other special forces around the world. Knights really make the best you can get. Yes, you do have a proprietary barrel nut, which is, I forgot to tell you, is actually on this, but a standard armorer's wrench today in Airsoft will have that right attachment, so you should be able to get that off no problem if you want to swap it out and change the inner barrel. That's probably what I would do, is put a tight bore on this and then restrict it a little bit more just to keep the FPS in check. But other than that, I'm pretty much happy with this. This is an amazing rifle out the box, coming in here in the UK for around about the £650 mark, depending on where you go. And to be honest with you, that's a really good value, because if you look at the competition, such as GHK will give you a steel bolt carrier, but you will get a lot of plastic in your hop. You will have issues with the hop. You do get proprietary GHK parts, such as the bucking, the inner barrel, and your hammer and trigger pins and all that are all different. The whole spec is off spec, whereas this is full mil spec, so you can literally drop in a single stage mil spec trigger and it will work perfectly fine on this rifle. Giving you more customization, you've got many more mags available here. They're a lot more easier to get. And if you were to get yourself a GHK URGI 10.3 2023 model here in the UK, you're looking at £900 to £1,000 just for the gun. But you're not getting £900 to £1,000 worth of quality assurance with it. That's one thing that they haven't stepped up in all these years. You can ask many of the YouTubers out there, such as Bada Bing, etc. He'll tell you himself, GHK just suck for QA at the moment, until they take everything in-house and build their own. But they don't. Their receivers are, if I remember rightly, are LTC, and you've got bits of other things in there as well from other companies and hodgepodge of stuff. So yeah, like I say, unless you're going to go for a forged, and then again with the GHK forged, you can't interswap parts. They are forged parts only, or you get the standard if you want more access. With this, doesn't matter whether you get the forged variant or the normal, you can interchange parts because they're all around the same. And to be honest with you, you don't need a forge with the SR16 due to the fact that the upper and lower receiver fit perfectly. As you can see, everything lines up perfectly. It's really great fit and finish. The paint lasts, there's no wear, even after a few thousand rounds through this, being in and out, on and off shelves and so on. Other than my fingerprints, and the oil that I've oiled it with, the lubrication, it's been perfectly perfect. So yeah, this is an absolute amazing rifle. Would I recommend it to anyone? Hell yes. This is amazing for people to have, you know? It is just a beautiful rifle. It looks great. It shoots amazing out the box, and you have all the custom ability. So yeah, an absolute amazing piece of kit. Now, it's up to you to let me know what you think. And if you have gotten this far and you do like what you see on the channel and you want to see latest stuff or some of the non-latest even, you know, just a great mix of airsoft related content, then subscribe to the channel, like the video and all the other YouTube jazz stuff, and help the channel grow. I want to say a huge thank you to everyone who subscribed so far. You guys are awesome. It's because you subscribe that I'm able to do this sort of thing for you. So a huge thank you to you guys. And like I say, let me know in the comments what you think of this and what other guns you want to see on the channel. I do listen, as you guys all know. So with that, I've been the Middle Aged Gamer. You guys have been awesome, and I'll see you in the next one.